Welcome back to another video. I am anchored out here in Georgetown in the Bahamas, and I find myself alone again. My crew left last week, my mom, and so now I am all alone. I have plenty of time to work on a couple projects this week. First of being, if you watched the last video, about halfway through, actually it was 2 videos ago, halfway through, I started having water come up above the floorboards again. And I've had this issue reoccurring. It's the, it seems like the collar on my shaft seal for the engine and the propeller, it starts to slip whenever I hit heavy waves and the water pressure in there. So I have to remove a pathway through my storage closet back here to get to the access under all my food 5-gallon buckets there. So I've cleared out my spot back here above the engine, the propeller shaft, and I'll show you what I'm working with here. This is the quote-unquote dripless shaft seal, and this is the collar that I think I need to compress, but reading online, I had compressed it before. Forgot I put that, let's see if you can see it. I put that hose clamp behind it, and so it really shouldn't be sliding back. So I wonder, reading a few things online, even ChatGPT is suggesting checking the engine alignment, because they say that if that comes undone, then that can cause the dripless shaft seal to continually have the same problem I'm having. So I've never checked my alignment. You can tell that coupler is pretty rusted to do so. So I'm going to try to clean it up, soak it in some WD-40 and see if we can't get that removed and check the alignment that way. I'm hoping I don't regret this, but I've got a couple days here to figure this out, and we got to learn to do this eventually. So I was able to finally get it loose. I think I had to lift, I kind of lifted the engine a bit to get it popped up. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but the side to side alignment seems pretty off. I'm going to try to see now if I can figure out how to adjust the motor mounts to get this engine to shift accordingly. So I've lowered those front motor mounts as far as they'll go, which really was only half a turn from where they were originally. And I'm still having quite a bit of a gap on this coupling on the lower half. So my next thought was, well, I could just raise the back to reduce that, but then this flat section, this top part's already flat, nice and flush. I feel like if I raised the back, that would bring this up, which would lift the shaft up as well. So I really think, at least my thoughts right now are that those front need to be lowered more. And they have a wooden block as like a shim underneath those motor mounts, which if that was gone, then I think I could theoretically raise the bolts all the way to get me back to my start and then lower them down. But to take those off, I would have to lift the entire engine. Alright, so familiar sight by now. I have the shaft coupled back on and bolted. I got it somewhat close. It's definitely closer than it was. I'm not very proud of this work here, I'd say. I've yapped enough about this. I'm going to attempt to turn it on. I think she's ready. And I guess we'll go from there and see if it works. Well, after taking a little break, clearing my mind, I called the SS Shaft Seal Company, the people that make the seal, and talked with one of the engineers for like half an hour. He gave me some things to kind of troubleshoot. There really wasn't a whole lot. By the end of the conversation, he had figured out that the seal is like 15 to 20 years old, he thinks, and so it's probably just time for a new one, because he had told me to compress it all the way. I've kind of already done that. He had me take off the hose clamps for the bellows, put those back on just to make sure they were set properly. So yeah, if it's not the alignment, which I think I fixed, then it's probably that. But I priced a new one. It's going to be like $400. but that's something I can't get unless I'm at a dealer, and I'd have to haul out to put it on anyways, so we might save that for somewhere down in the Caribbean further, probably past Puerto Rico. But all that to say, I think I'm going to leave it where it's at and just keep dealing with it like I have. And yeah, now I'm going to do some picking up around here. I took some things out from the stern berth there just to get access. And then I've got 2 days till Dad gets here, so I'll probably do some chores, knock those out, and see you all whenever he gets here. So on top of my engine realignments and hot water heater removal, I want to give a shout out to JP. He hooked me up with a Victron shunt. He reached out to me on Patreon, asked if I had one, and I did not. I was just kind of guesstimating what was in the battery still, so he was like, this is a must-have for you. He had that sent over to my parents, and when my mom flew down, she brought it with her. So I just got it installed here. You can see it's not quite, I mean, it's all wired up. I gotta actually get it mounted proper, but it'll tell you the current coming through the batteries, the load on it, and it'll also then estimate the charge percentage, and it's pretty close estimation too. And then this gray wire comes off, goes onto my start battery, so I can tell the voltage of that as well through the app. So super sweet upgrade to have. Now I can actually see exactly what I'm drawing. Usually come morning time I'm about 70% on battery capacity, and that's running fans all night. I usually leave the AIS on, Starlink, and the chart plotter, autopilot, all that stuff. I just leave it on just in case I got to get up, move the boat, you know. But great to know that finally, because I wasn't sure if I was using half the battery, more than half, you know. So I got plenty of extra juice in there. And like I said, big shout out to JP, we appreciate it. So I don't know how much time has passed since I last talked to you, but the day has come where my next crew member is arriving soon. My dad is flying in from Missouri, going to stay with me about a week, and so I finally have the boat looking normal again. If you can't tell, I've been cleaning her, scrubbed the floors, wiped down the tables. This is a whole different place now. But I'm going to get tossed in the dinghy, head to shore, and then I get a taxi waiting for me over there. Go to the airport and we'll pick them up. And just picked up my new crew member yesterday. Drum roll please. This is my dad Jason here.
Hello everybody.
And he's going to be sailing with me for, I think it's like 10 days. We're going up from here to Cat Island to Conception to San Salvador, where he's got a flight back home. So yesterday I came in late, so we just filled up water. I did the laundry that morning. We're gonna go get some groceries now and then head over to stocking to do some exploring there. All right, so we made it back to the boat, got some groceries, breakfast, and I've got my new windlass up there to work. And we're gonna get this anchor pulled up for the first time, hopefully, and then we'll get moved over to stocking here. Should be a little calmer, and there's some more fun things to do over there as well. Well, good morning. It is 6 a.m. Got up at 5, did our chores, tidied the boat up. Got my new crew member, Jason, my dad, to do some, make some eggs for us. And so we are fueled up, ready to go, engines on. He's going to get the anchor pulled up here, and we will get on our way. We're heading to Cat Island, 40 nautical miles today. We should be getting out of here, the channel, probably in another hour. So that'll give us, what, if we do 4 knots, we'll get there at 5 o'clock. And if we can do 5 knots, we'll get there at 3 o'clock. So big difference. We'll get both sails out today. Wind heading's looking promising. So I'll see you out on the water. So we made it out of the channel now, on a pretty decent heading to Cat Island, where we're trying to go. We are pinching just a bit, so first I was doing I think 6 knots, then dropped down to 4.6 once I try to get that heading more accurate. But hopefully any wind shifts that we can take and get some ground up winds, because this afternoon I think we're gonna have to fall off a bit. But anyways, things are good. Crew spirits seem to be high, and we got the full sails out today. Everything, like I said, reefed in, or hauled in pretty tight, pointing upwind. Should be a beautiful day though. It'll be a long, hot one in the sun. And I forgot, I was gonna give a big shout out to Reggie and Jerome. They are on sailing vessel, I think it's it's Place to Be. And he is actually a Patreon member. When I anchored out in Georgetown, they both dinghied up and were like, Damon. I was like, who knows whom I am, but pretty cool. Great to meet them. My dad and I went over there last night. We hung out on his boat. It's a beautiful boat. Yeah, it's great. They're headed down to Grenada for hurricane season, so told them I'd keep in touch and try to touch base with them when I get down there. But they hooked me up with some trolling lures, and he also sent over a pretty big donation to PayPal. So big thanks to them. Pretty cool guys. And yeah, we'll get back to sailing here. Crew's decided to take a nap. Well, let's talk about the toilet. So on a sailboat, obviously you gotta have a toilet. And this one, you do your business, use the hand pump. It pumps everything into a holding tank below the seat here. I think it's about 35 gallons, and obviously that fills up after a while. And to dispose of it, there is this pump here, this hand pump. You pump it, it pumps the sewage out of the tank and over into the ocean. Depending on where you are, there's different rules and regulations for how far they prefer you to be offshore before you pump out, things like that. Obviously, when you're in an anchorage, you're not just going to start pumping it overboard. People have their water makers on, people are swimming in the water, so you always wait till, usually it's 3 to 5 miles offshore, or like in the Keys, it's a certain depth of the water, which I don't remember. But anyways, we're about halfway in our passage to Cat, and I came down here to pump out this holding tank. And be warned, you're about to see some leakage here. But this is the hand pump, and as you pump it, like I said, it primes up and fills. And you might not be able to see it, but that's a rubber diaphragm. There's a bolt that holds that onto this plastic piece, and that's coming undone. And so when I went to fill it up, or to unfill it, it starts leaking sewage onto the floor, which is obviously no go. It stinks in here. So my dad had the bright idea. He's like, well, if you're gonna have to work on it anyways, I was using the shower head. I'd spray it while pumping, and it's all going in the bilge. So that's being pumped overboard as well. I have to bleach the bilge, but at first I thought there was a hole in the rubber, and I don't have a rebuild kit for this, which I'm starting to learn I probably should have. But now I think, looking at it more, that nut has come loose and it's leaking through there. So I've pumped just about everything out of the holding tank at this point, and so I'm going to unscrew these screws here. We'll take this off and see if we can't get that nut and bolt tightened down, and hopefully that'll fix the issue. But it's about to get real messy in here, so I will show you some, but I'll try to spare you from all the gory details. Okay, so that actually wasn't as nasty as I thought it was going to be. I was able to spray the shower head while I'm taking it off. This is the pump, so obviously I think there's some check valves or one-way valves, whatever you call them. They suck the sewage in, and then whenever you compress it, it pushes it out, making sure nothing backflows. But there is this screw here and the nuts, and I think it's leaking through that hole because obviously up here it's loose. So I'm going to just give that a good old tighten. The rest of this rubber looks pretty good, and then we'll reassemble it and try pumping out some more, and hopefully won't have sewage leaking onto my floor anymore. So just pumped some seawater into the holding tank, a couple gallons to kind of let it slosh around. It's good to do that every while anyways, get some of that extra stuff out of there, but pumped that out. Didn't see any apparent leaks, so I'm going to let it sit for now. Hopefully that was all. But they say every sailor will eventually have to tear apart his sewage pumps, and that's a dreaded day for many. I've been lucky. It's taken me 1.5 years to have anything break on it. We did it though. They're using this shower to rinse it as you're taking it apart, although it contaminates the bilge. Now there's that bacteria down there. It sure made cleaning it a lot easier. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to bleach the bilge, put some bleach in there, let it slosh around while we're sailing, and we'll pump that out and give them both a good scrub once we get to the anchorage later. Well, it's 2 o'clock now. We are 6 miles from the anchorage where we're headed to tonight. There is nothing out here. You could see a little bit of land behind us, maybe. Got the boat over. Dad's hopping in the water. He's gonna check it out. I told him it's pretty crazy just looking down and seeing nothing below you. I think we're in 5,000 feet of water right now. So it's 2 o'clock, the hottest part of the day. Good time to cool off. So we'll take turns, because even though we're hove to like this, sail still up, we're still moving 1 to 1.5 knots. Because I haven't tuned it in super good, but that way, if worse comes to worse, we can turn around and pick up the person. So all is good though. It's been a perfect day. I mean, you can see the seas are pretty calm. Shaft seal's not leaking. I think that's mostly just because the waves are as calm as they are. And like I said, that toilet issue, but we got that resolved pretty quick. So hoping we will be to the anchorage probably in 2 hours. We'll hang out here, and then the time to get up there, motor, drop sails. Alright, so it's 4 o'clock now. We've made it to land pretty much. About 1 mile to the anchorage. We're going to kind of hug up against this beach here. Winds are coming out of the southeast, and so this should be great protection in here. Anchor windlass is up there on the bow, getting ready to go. We're going to try a new maneuver today. Something a friend had recommended. I think his name was Perry. I met him up in the Berries. He was 25 on his own sailboat, and he had been in the Bahamas 3 months. And of those, after the first month, his engine quit, but he stayed around 2 more months, sailing in the islands, and he would just sail straight up to the anchorage, drop his anchor with the sails up, and then raise them and sail off the anchorage too. So he recommended I practice it just in case you ever do have engine troubles. So what I'm going to do is we'll get closer to the anchorage. I'm going to get the jib furled up, and then I'm going to try to use just the main, kind of pinch, and at the very last moment you point into the wind and kind of drift forward, lose your momentum, throw the sheet out and the halyard, and then you're supposedly drop an anchor like that. So we're going to try it. I'll get you guys on the Rambler Skycam, and fingers crossed it goes well. sit here now. Alright, so it is the next morning. We are here off Cat Island again, still. And I've got a bit of the jib unfurled up front. Gonna try to sail off anchor since we practiced sailing too last night. I had the mainsail raised all the way up. I was gonna try that as well. But we started to kind of fishtail and start sailing here at anchor. So decided against that, drop the sail. What I'm reading online, they say on the front, you can hold the sheet for the jib, and as you're pulling up the anchor, if you're going one way or the other, you can like manually move it to kind of steer from up front. So I'm going to try that. We'll just have to hand pull up today. There's no one around though, so it's the perfect place to try it. Alright, so the anchor's up, I had the wheel locked, pointing straight forward, and you can see with the way I got the sail set, we're now starting to fall off on our preferred heading here. So now we'll run back to the helm. We should be able to get the mainsail up. Right, so we're underway here. Pretty comfortable heading, and winds are a little light this morning, so I've got some time on my hands. I've been polishing the stainless, but I've had an idea recently. I've been doing my laundry in the bucket half the time and going into shore and finding laundromats half the time, but getting kind of tired of sitting there for an hour doing it by hand. So I'm thinking, I've got my 5-gallon bucket here. If I fill it maybe a third of the way with water and put my clothes in it, I'm hoping if I can tow it behind me while I'm sailing, it'll bounce off the waves. Do that for an hour or two. Hopefully my clothes will be clean. So what I'm going to try to do is, I've got these spare pieces, spare hardware from my solar arch installation. I'm thinking these fit just nice here in these slots, one on each side, and if I can screw it in multiple places bolted in, that should help make the bucket a little stronger for towing it that long and in rough seas. So I got the hardware for that. And then I'm thinking I'll put one big bolt in and use this stainless steel leader. Let's see if I can do this to show you. And kind of bolt this in here at the top, and that'll attach maybe to a carabiner or a rope, which will be towing behind the boat. So I'm going to try to assemble this together here, and then we'll hopefully give it a test. That's the idea. We'll see how it plays out in reality. But like I thought, if I can tow my laundry behind every time I go sailing, then just a few garments here and there, shouldn't ever have to worry about having dirty laundry anymore. So it really didn't take long. I think I've got it complete. This is what one side looks like. Ideally I'd have an eye bolt in here. I think that'd be a lot stronger and safer, but kind of got to work with what I got. There's no Home Depot nearby. So 4 bolts on each side, and they've got washers on the inside. That should be to distribute the load as it's being pulled, so hopefully I won't crack the plastic. And then we'll watch it and see how it goes. I didn't put any silicone in these. They have some nylon washers on each side, so maybe that's enough. The lid has a seal on it, and so what you do is you hammer that on with the mallets, and then these two leads come together. I'll toss one of these stainless steel carabiner things on it, and that should be where we tow it from. So I'm going to toss a few items of clothes in here, some salt water and some soap. So get her tied off to the stern cleat here. We will see what happens. It's pretty heavy, so there's going to be a lot of forces on it. going underwater more than I thought it was. I was thinking it was going to skip off the top, but we're losing. You can feel the boat slowing down now. It's kind of like a sea anchor, so I'm going to bring it back up and maybe reduce what's inside of it, the amount of water, maybe take a choco out, and then we'll try it again. So we're just watching the bucket drag back here, and an idea we had come up with is I put a little swivel on the end of it as well since I last talked to you, hoping that it would rotate, but obviously there's nothing really, it's a smooth bucket to cause it to rotate. So as we were talking, we had the idea of maybe 3D printing some sort of like fins or blades and add one to each of the aluminum strips, and if we put them right, it could almost be sort of like just a very thin profile like a propeller, and hopefully it would be enough to catch it. And if it could spin while we're sailing, that's I mean, what more do you want for a washing machine? So it'd have a clothes spinning around, something in there to kind of agitate it, and it's bouncing up and down with the waves. That's something we'll have to work on though in the future. So we'll leave it as it is, watch it, and let it go for an hour or two, and hopefully it'll clean the clothes at least a little bit. So I had another idea. After thinking about 3D printing the fins to put them on there, we were thinking, well, I got this right angle, I don't know what you call it, angle piece. So I used that and cut a sort of fin-like thing, put one on each side. And the thought process is the water will catch it and hopefully be enough to spin it. We're gonna go ahead and toss it out there, and fingers crossed it works. Well, next update, I tried that with the little fins, and if the bucket was empty, I think it would have worked, but I didn't really think about the weight of the clothes when the bucket's at an angle, they're all on one side. Wasn't enough force to get it spinning. So went back to the drawing board, and don't judge me too much, it's a prototype, but I have added on these larger wood pieces on both sides. And if you can see, the top down it sort of looks like a propeller. So we're gonna see if that's enough force to get the bucket to spin with the clothes in it, and if so, then I can maybe, like I said, 3D print some larger fins that are a little more aerodynamic, look better. But we're gonna toss this one in the water and we'll see what happens. So pulled the bucket out. I don't know if you can tell, the water is a little murky, so taking that as a good sign, it's getting the dirt off the clothes. I'm gonna put a new fresh set of water in there, add some soap, let it go again. Watching it, definitely several things that we could improve with the proper parts. I think probably having 3 blades, so 1, 2, and 3 would obviously be stronger supports, and then there's always at least 2 in the water, because it seems like just 1 isn't quite enough to keep it going consistently. They give us 3 connection points to a bridle. We can make that a little longer and get a proper swivel on there. And then also the bucket lip, you've probably seen the video, but it's catching the water and kind of holding it under. I think ideally this would be more rounded, so it's almost skipping over the water while still spinning. I'm not quite sure how I can do that out here. I think maybe some sort of like a salad bowl, you know, from the Dollar Tree. You could probably get that to fit in there. But obviously there's no Dollar Trees, or I don't have anything like that on the boat. So I'm gonna keep tweaking, playing with it. But that could be fun once we get to a proper port to try to make it even better. Well, it's 5:30 now. We are underway, doing about 5 knots finally. Most of the day we were doing maybe 2 to 3 knots. Not great. Forecast was looking a little better than it ended up being, and the goal originally was to get to this like snorkel spot on the southeast side of Cat Island, and we're supposed to get there about noon is what I was expecting. But noon rolls around, we'd only made it maybe a couple miles upwind. We had to go upwind most of the way there, and with the lighter winds, I really couldn't get as high into the wind as I was hoping, so we tagged back and forth all day, didn't make much ground, and it's, like I said, 5:30, then the sun's setting soon, so the plan has changed. I've got us pointed away from the island. Now we're kind of headed out into open ocean here, and we'll be on this course for a few hours, and then we'll turn around, kind of come back upwind a bit more. We'll kind of tack through the night, Nothing too high into the wind, just kind of a comfortable heading so we can each take a few naps, recoup since we didn't make it there this afternoon. And then we'll try again in the morning. We should be quite a bit closer too by then. But I got Chef Jason in the kitchen here. He's cooking us some dinner. Get the spirits raised. What we got for dinner tonight?
We're having spaghetti. Wish you all could join us.
Heck yeah. So we got some spaghetti on the stove. And after a long day in the sun, it is very appreciated. So we'll get the dinner in us. And then, like I said, sun should be setting here soon. We'll start a couple night shifts. And yeah, I'll touch base with you later. Should stay about this all night, so it's not too bad. Alright, so the sun is set. We are underway here and went ahead and reefed the jib and the main. That was my dad's idea because we were cooking along 6.5 knots. And he's like, well, if we're not really going anywhere, do we need to be going that fast? And I agreed with him there. So we're doing 3.8 knots now. He'll be taking the night shift, the first shift. And I'm gonna go get an hour or two sleep. And I'm leaving you in good hands. So here is your new captain, Captain Rust. Well, it's now 11 o'clock here. It is start of my shift. I left the camera with my dad, but I don't think he wanted to film anything over his shift, but things are doing well. I went ahead and tacked back towards Cat Island. Got myself a nice warm cup of coffee here. And gonna settle in. I think I'll try to do 3 to 4 hours on my shift. That way I can get a little longer nap next time it's my turn. But pretty cool. I can't show you on video. I tried to film it, but behind the boat and each of the waves when they hit, there's like these bioluminescent. They look like little squids or something. But it's just like I said, whenever the waves crash into the boat, it's like all the stars are reflected in the water. But there are all these little glowing blue creatures, so that's pretty cool. The stars are out as well. It's a beautiful night. It's a little bit cooled off, so all in all, can't complain. But I'm gonna sit here for a couple hours, like I said. But I think that's gonna wrap it up here for this week's video. Appreciate you guys tuning in and having a great time out here sailing with my dad. We're gonna be hopefully doing some more snorkeling, get up to San Salvador, check out some snorkeling there. So be sure to tune in for next week's video. And after that, I drop him off. I'm going to be booking it for Puerto Rico. That is what I've decided. Gonna get there hopefully by the let's see, the end of June. And so give me a couple weeks to get there. Try to knock it out pretty quick because there's not a whole lot to see in between here and there. Plus I got some projects I'd like to get started on, so pretty excited for that. And I want to give a big shout out to all the Patreon subscribers for helping out with my adventure. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I've been blown away by the generosity, and all of your support has allowed me to make that decision to continue sailing south to Puerto Rico. The original goal, I was going to just sail the Bahamas, head back to the Keys, work at that resort for a couple months. But since I've been out here, I've started making enough to cover all my bills, and so I really appreciate that. Can't thank you all enough. That's going to wrap it up though for the video, and I will see you in next week's video.